I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christine Brown. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about, let me just move my camera out a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about this Anthony Karemlo case. There's so many emotions and misinformation surrounding this case, and it's people keep trying to compare it to Daniel Penny. People are comparing it to Kyle Rittenhouse, and there's a viral meme going around right now. I'm sorry, okay. My sound isn't coming through. Hold on, give me 1 second. It's coming through. It's coming through the mic and not on the camera. I just got to fix it real quick. Okay, that should be better. It should be better. Sound better. I assume. Let me just double check it. Yeah, should be coming through the microphone now. Anyway, there's a viral meme going around comparing Kyle Rittenhouse to Carmelo Anthony, who stabbed Austin Metcalf, and it's just delusional. It's just delusional. And the person who posted it, you can't comment on their stuff. Their stuff is restricted, and their profile says they're a truth teller. I'm like, this is infuriating. I added community notes to Elon Musk. I'm like, please fix this. This needs a community note. And there's just ignorant people in the comments who are like, yep, And I'm like, all this time with Kyle Rittenhouse, and people still don't know what happened. They don't care about what happened. How can people be so emotionally invested in something and not know basic facts and things that have been corrected? It's like some of the Trump hoaxes, like the very fine people. I'm like, how can you guys not know the truth by now with that and other things? It amazes me sometimes what people push and what they don't know. And I guess there's things they don't care to know. I guess there's things they don't care to know. Also, Gibson Go, there's a debate about whether or not people should be able to fundraise for the legal defense of Anthony because he stabbed someone and murdered him. And there's a lot of people on the right who are like, you should take this down. And the founder, I think it's the founder or co-founder of the company, was like, nah, because there's going to be a time when people on the right want their people defended while everyone is saying that they, killed someone. So, co-founder of Gibson Ghost. So I think that conversation is a bit interesting. So we'll talk about that and some other things as well. Scott on CNN did something that's really funny. I want to start off showing you guys that video before we get into the serious stuff. Because it's funny. And I at least want to start off with something light as we talk about something pretty heavy. It is strange to me that this is it's not really strange. People like clicks and views and conversations and stuff. So I guess it's really not surprising how our society is, that people are so focused on this tragedy and senseless murder of this white student killed by this black student. And I think people want to go to where they knew the story could get a lot of play, and it's gotten a lot of play, and there's a lot of narrative surrounding it. And I think if it was 2 white kids or 2 black kids, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. But we're having it, so here we are. Anyway, before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys, go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, or my side, all the good stuff you guys can support. Please go ahead and support if you are able and if you can. I appreciate everyone who has donated in the past and those who periodically do. But if you can, I'm asking it. I know I ask all the time, but I'm asking a little harder today. Not too hard. But if you can, I appreciate it. You guys can also give super chats, and you guys can do stickers. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars as well. You guys can also go to the website and check out different merch that's available on the site as well. And I encourage you guys to check out some of my books that are available on Amazon. There's a link in the description that'll take you to an Amazon page with some of my books and stuff on it. I will be at Motor City Comic Con in May. It's coming up very quickly. And I'll be in Artist Alley, and the booth will be I3. And so if you're in the area and you'd like to get some signed books and stuff, I shall be there. So should be a good time. So let me start with Scott Jennings, because this is funny. He's a funny dude. And I saw people talking about Scott Jennings and this incident, and people are like, man, he doesn't get paid enough. And I'm like, what is Scott Jennings saying today? So he got into a little tiff with somebody from CNN. I think former host who used to have a show. And this was just a thing of beauty.
Greenland and quote colonize it, or you got fired from your job. You can agitate.
Let me. I know the thing went out a little bit. Let me play that again. He already said it.
Greenland and quote colonize it or steal it.
You're not a member of the government, so you're irrelevant at that point. I'm talking about the president of the United States doing that.
Fired from your job.
You can agitate. Scott, if you want to engage in personal insults,
I don't, but you
what
do.
You lack in a legitimate point, you make up for in personal input.
I don't. You
personal
do.
insults. The point I am making is, in this new world order, we are looking at countries, whether or not they're an adversary or ally. It is being determined on what kind of deal we can get, and we cannot govern. We cannot legislate that way. We are increasingly isolated on the world stage.
No,
so if you want to engage in personal insults,
we're not isolated.
If I were you, I would reserve that for your party, who is increasingly isolated. This our position.
So if he said, she said, you're not relevant because you're not in government. He's like, well, you got fired for your job, so how relevant are you? And that was just one of those release the black kid meme. We're like, so Meghan McCain had something to say, because this girl, I guess, she was on the Meghan was on you, Miss Cross, I think that's her last name, did a segment about her hair. She said, Tiffany went an entire show talking about how my hairstyles on The View were cultural appropriation. She and her producers thought that was breaking news America needed for a full hour. I like to think that was the episode where MSNBC decided to cancel her show. She had some wild stuff. So I ain't shed no tears for her today. She was wild. she was wild. So was that I don't know. She kind of dug at him, so he, punched back in the face. As far as the insult, that one had to sting. So anyway, there's one more I want to show you. This one isn't really funny, But someone made the point. This is a Princeton professor who's on MSNBC saying some nonsense. And Mark Hemingway had said that he has 2 high school kids in DC area private school where there are a ton of high achieving kids and wealthy parents, and I cannot overstate how much desire to get into any Ivy has been diminished in everyone's view. This stuff is a good example why everyone knows the liberal arts faculty is compromised and incompetent. So there's a tweet, and here's the video.
Have to grapple with it because it's the snake, it's the beast coiled up in the heart, the bosom of the country, as Frederick Douglass said. And the fact that they are doubling down on this shows you what kind of human beings they actually are.
Say more.
We chose a felon who is more interested in loyalty, who's more interested in retribution, who's more interested in grift than in democracy. And we chose a felon because we didn't want to elect a black woman. So to read that, to actually explicate that, is to say we would rather destroy the republic than for that to have happened. And until we grapple with it, there's no amount of protesting I could do. There's no amount of resistance that could come into play to actually force 78 million people to grapple with what motivated them to put themselves in this position.
Cry me a river. Oh, cry me a river. Oh, cry me. Cry me, cry me. Cry me, cry me. Cry me a river, bro. Go in your special closet and cry. You are so detached from reality. We have to grapple with the fact that they didn't want to elect a black woman. That's not what it was. That's not what it was. Do not tell me you cared about democracy when you tried to shove her in last second, not give people full say. The journalists, everybody, covering for decrepit, mentally, handicapped Joe Biden who's losing it. They don't care about democracy. They just want to win. They just want to win. Like, oh, we're defending democracy. No. Is that why the Democrats were trying to kick Trump off of the ballot? Is that why they were trying to send him to jail? At first, when I was watching this or whatever, and he went, they chose a felon. Explain the case to me. Explain the case. Explain what felony you think he committed and specifically how. Specifically how. Because if you look into that case, it looks like there was lawfare used against Trump to keep him out of office. So you guys could have this nifty little talking point. So you could push Kamala over him or Biden over him or whatever. Y'all knew that New York case was trash. Everybody knew that case was trash. And that's the thing you guys want to hold up to say, this man is a felon. He signed a check, bro. Some checks. And they charged him for like every check. For paying for a private matter with private funds. And they tried to ding him on a campaign finance violation because they said he tried to hide it from the American people. And by the way, that's how they explain it at the DNC. He tried to hide things from the American people. As if that's some kind of felony. I guess how you do it can be a felony or whatever. But it sure wasn't what he did. Because campaign finance rules doesn't work the way that they were trying to make it work. They didn't have a good reason to convict him and make him a felon. So when you keep saying, he's a felon, they picked a felon over the black woman. You guys sound like clowns. To anyone educated on the matter. Anyone educated on the matter, you keep bringing this stuff up. It just sounds like you guys are tyrants who wanted to use this talking point to keep him out of the White House. So it doesn't sound like you guys actually care about democracy. I could go on a long list of reasons why I don't like Kamala Harris, why I was never going to support her, why she was my least favorite in 2020 when all the Democrats ran. I could do that. I don't need to do that because everyone knew how unpopular she was prior to her becoming the nominee anyway. People didn't like her. You think Joe Biden liked her? Like, I was reading the rumorvilles and the the media and stuff. There's a reason why they kind of kept her away, and she needed like 5 different reboots. And she sounded like an idiot every time she came in front of the camera. And you just have to assume the problem that's so wrong with America is that she's a Black woman. Yeah, I can understand why people don't care about Ivy League if that's your creme de la creme that you're proud to send to go talk on TV. For all of you who are like, well, list the reasons. I have a 50 reasons video not to vote for Kamala Harris that is available on YouTube. You can go and watch it. I've written articles about it on blacktnews.com. I don't need to relitigate all that stuff again right now because I have another topic in mind that I want to cover. And we don't need to spend an hour or 5 talking about things that I've explained a lot. I'm not saying I'm never going to go on another Kamala Harris rant, but people had their reasons. People had their reasons. I'll name one just off the bat. Her saying that when she was asked the question about would you be willing to compromise with Republicans to codify Roe v. Wade by making sure that there is religious exemptions, and she didn't want to do that. So you just want to make people who are so against this, who are like, it's killing a baby. And it's not even like, okay, you mind your business. You go ahead and do whatever you want to do. You want to make people have to participate in this egregious sin. Okay. You're my enemy. Enemy. Jeez. Yeah, but anyway, let's move on. So is she Black, as Trump would say? Yeah, a lot of people ask that question too. There's a lot of people who decide not to vote for her who did not believe she was Black, didn't acknowledge that she was Black or whatever. You know, I never really wade into those conversations really on my channel, but there's a lot of people who are like, she Black? What are you talking about? So how could it be because she was Black when there's a lot of people didn't accept that she was Black? But you know what? Since it didn't work out, the vice presidency didn't work out. Well, she got to be vice president for a little while. Since the presidency didn't work out for Kamala Harris, and if she needs some kind of job, you know, since it was her goal to help the Black community by making sure weed was legal and opening up like weed shops and things like that, I'm sure she can get a nice job in the cannabis industry. So I can recommend her a few stores. Since she thinks that's the elite job that's a Black job for Kamala Harris. So anyway, let's talk about Anthony Karemlo. So if you're unaware, which we've mentioned it and it's been in the news, it's been all over like X and all over like TikTok and different places like that. There was a young man who was a twin named Austin Metcalf who was stabbed to death by a young man, 17 years old, named Karemlo Anthony. And so Austin it was at a school track meet. Karemlo was in the wrong tent. Austin asked him to leave. Like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And he said, you know, like, you make me move and, you know, you're going to regret it or something like that. And he had touched him and then he stabbed him. Like, there's a little bit more than that, but not really. And it was just a huge unnecessary escalation. Anthony left his knife behind too, and the police got him, and they're like, we have the alleged suspect. He's like, I'm not alleged, it was me. He's trying, and he asked, could he claim self-defense? Now that was not self-defense. There are people making the case that it's self-defense, and that's what they're going to argue, unless they convince him to do a plea deal or whatever. I don't think they'll need to if they want to just like throw the book at this kid. But they're going to probably go with trying to claim it's self-defense, and there are people trying to justify it to some degree. Yeah, not even some degree. People are trying to justify it. Like they said, well, I'm not saying what he did was right, but you shouldn't put your hands on people like that. Okay, reading the police report, and I'll read part of the police report. The there's a moment when I'm like, that was stupid. He shouldn't have put his hands on him. But in no way, me saying that is like there's some kind of escalation that was justified. Like, this kid is going to go to jail, and he should go to jail. You can't just take someone's life like that. His life was not in danger, and seemed like he provoked the encounter himself and planned to do violence. I'm not saying it was like totally premeditated. I don't know those details. We'll see them kind of unfold. I mean, he's alive. He can tell his own story about why he went there and why he had the knife on him. But as far as a little bit that we know in the tent, it's not looking good for this kid. But a lot of people have all kinds of takes. And so the first take that we talked about was some folks on the right who didn't like the fact that his father was saying that he forgave him. And I brought up the case of Brandt Jean forgiving the cop who killed his brother, and the hug and all this stuff. And people are mad about that. But there's other cases of people who are victimized, cases that where the killer sought them out because of race, and they still forgave. And as Christians, you know, we're called to do some extraordinary things sometimes. So I didn't like the rhetoric around that. I'm not going to rehash that today. I'm probably going to write something about that. But there are people who are trying to prop up this kid and again justify what he did. Some people blatantly saying like, well, white people have to learn. This isn't the Rosa Parks days. I'm like, Rosa Parks didn't stab somebody. What are you talking about? Like, it just wasn't justified at all. It wasn't the lethal force wasn't justified, and nor was self-defense. They could have at least like duked it out, like man to man, fist to fist. Like, you know, it still wouldn't have been like this is a smart, reasonable fight between the two of them. Like, it still would have been like a silly altercation. But you know, sometimes dudes fight and women fight or whatever. And it is what it is. And you go home, somebody got bruised, somebody got, you know, a black eye or whatever. You keep walking, keep living. This was unconscionable. So anyway, this is part of the report. Austin and the suspect later identified. Some of this is like blacked out. They're probably the blacked out portions, probably names of minors. Austin and the suspect, who was later identified as Karemlo Anthony. Anthony was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Austin told Anthony that he needed to move out from under their team's tent, and Anthony grabbed the bag, opened and reached inside, and proceeded to tell Austin, touch me and see what happens. No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out what recalled as a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everyone to get help. advised he did not know Anthony's name, but stated another Memorial Track member was friends with Anthony and he could identify Anthony. Such and such described Anthony as a black male, skinny, with possibly a goatee, short, puffy hair, and wearing a Centennial High School clothing. This concluded my contact with blank. Then I was instructed to start a crime scene log. I retrieved the crime scene log from my patrol vehicle and began starting the crime scene log, etc., etc. So Austin told him to move because he wasn't supposed to be under the team's tent, so he wasn't supposed to be there. And some people were like, well, you're not the authority, you're who was he to say? This is really scary stuff. Like, if I see a dude in my bathroom and I'm like, you're not supposed to be here, it is me somehow saying that going to end up like justified if this person goes crazy and stabs me, like if simply by like saying you're not supposed to be here. Now I wouldn't try to manhandle a dude in the scenario that I brought up. I would go get someone else because I was, I'd be the weaker sex in that situation. But you could, he's not a teacher, he wasn't a coach, sure, he wasn't the police, but is it really so crazy that another student told another student you're not supposed to be here? And it's just an unjustifiable escalation. And so he told him to move. They should move out from under the tent. And then Anthony grabbed his bag and opened it and reached inside. And then he told him, touch me and see what happens. So he already was gearing up for a confrontation, and he provoked him, saying, touch me and see what happens, while being like near the weapon. So it's not like these guys are going to blows, and then he suddenly feared for his life, and then he reached inside and got his knife. And then he told him to like punch him and see what happens. And he touched him and he stabbed him in the heart. So there's no way this is going to fall under self-defense. And there's no way that this is going to meet the necessary standards of, going to lethal force. Like, there's no, if you're a reasonable person and you're reading the scenario and it plays out like this in the report, and people have, basically testified, witnesses of not really contradicted the story. If that's what happened, no reasonable person is gonna be like, yep, reasonable threat of danger. And then he provoked it. Touch me and see what happens. While reaching inside. Now, I can say, young men, women, folks out there, you don't know who's crazy. You don't know who has a death wish. I'm not trying to encourage people to go around in life living like a punk, but I am encouraging you to try to get home to your family. And some people are just insane, and you don't need to fool with them. And they probably thought, like, this kid doesn't really have anything. He's just acting tough. But you don't know, unfortunately. He could have had a gun and just shot them all. You don't know. Like, one time I was at the gas station, and it was not a deep hood gas station, but a little hood area gas station. But the gas was cheap, y'all. The gas was cheap. It was the cheapest in the area, okay? So that's why I went to the location. And there's some characters who, occasionally came. A lot of normal people come in the gas station. But sometimes you'll just have like rap music playing, like blasting out of people's cars with terrible lyrics, curse words, and just the flow not good. I don't understand. Like, I'm not a big rap fan, but some of this stuff people listen to is just garbage. It's just trash. But anyway, and I went in the gas station one day, and people are there's these two guys arguing, and I think it was like an Arab guy and a black guy, and the black guy just got like so hype, and I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, this dude needs to like just disengage with this guy, because nothing ended up popping off, but I started to get nervous because the way the aggression just peaked. I'm like, you don't know how crazy people are and what they will do to not just themselves, but people around them, and what kind of collateral damage will pop off. You go to some of these gas stations, they got like bulletproof glass, like thick glass, and you have to put your stuff inside like this turntable thing so they can scan it, and you have to put the change down in a thing, because they're trying to keep safe. If you go like deep in like Detroit and stuff, like you can't get in the station someplace, especially like after dark. But yeah, there weren't bars on the windows or whatever, but there was, it's just you got to be careful someplace. You just don't know how crazy some people are, if they have some kind of knife, or if they have a firearm, and just some people you just don't try. So I'm not trying to victim blame this young man for what happened. The kid who stabbed him was obviously the one who did what he did. That was such a he provoked him, and he also escalated the thing to a degree that was so unnecessary that I'm sure nobody could really see coming. But for anyone listening who has a son or a daughter out there, just remind people that some people are insane. They're insane. They don't value your life, and they don't value their own life, and they will throw it away, either one, at the drop of a hat, whether it's to prove that how hard they are, how big and bad they are, to win an argument, whatever. Some people will just react and do stuff. So you got to be careful, and you got to tell your kids like to be careful. Like, you have to weigh your options. Like, was it worth it to, I don't know, stand up there for yourself in front of the your friends and your brother, whatever, with this kid who shouldn't have been there? And it's easy to say stuff in hindsight, sure, but somebody reaching in their bag like that, you just don't know. You just don't know. So this kid did a terrible thing, and a lot of people don't know the details, or they're convinced there's so many other details that will somehow make that moment justifiable. If there's some kind of like relationship prior to that got him there in that moment, that's just going to feed into premeditation, and he's really going to be screwed. Like, even if you say, well, like people are saying, oh, the Austin was a bully, and even if that were true, and there's some kind of history that made him go into that tent with the weapon to sit there and to provoke him so he could get to that position to stab him, that is premeditation. That's premeditated murder. You can't just say like an angry, like, I had this on me, and if he planned it out like that, to have that knife to go in that tent to bother them, this kid, he's really screwed in that case. Really screwed. But I will say, someone in the comment mentioned discernment. You have to have discernment. If you don't know the Lord, I would recommend you get to know him so you can have some spiritual discernment. And not everybody's in the quote unquote spirit at all times, but sometimes you need that little whisper. Be like, bro, you don't need to do that. You need to calm down. You need to walk away. Don't go there. Get over in that lane. Like, just things like that. It can save your life. You better get to know the Lord. I'm not saying they didn't know, but sometimes you can't help stuff, and you can't stop other people. I don't know why, because this young man was apparently a young man of faith. I don't know why certain things are allowed to happen or why certain things play out. But I do know that this young man needs to be held accountable for what he did. So anyway, there's folks out here trying to justify him or at least stand up for him. And I saw this post today. And someone named Nicole's View. I'm not saying Nicole made this. I don't know if that's the case. But Nicole here, profile, unapologetic truth teller. Okay? Posted this. I don't know who made it. But Nicole here posted it. And it has limited replies. You can only people the author mentioned can reply. So that's how it was restricted. Now, I first saw my friend, this is Savvy, quote tweet this to debunk some of the things on there, but that's Kyle Rittenhouse. You guys recall Kyle Rittenhouse, and this is Karemlo Anthony. In a town he wasn't a resident of, protesting at a track meet he was supposed to be at. This is already wrong. This is already wrong, and it's the first thing. Now, Anthony was in a tent he wasn't supposed to be in, so why not at least add that? But Kyle Rittenhouse was there. He lived like on a border town. He was very close. There are people who came to protest there who lived far away, who came to Wisconsin to just loot and riot and be crazy. He lived like right there. And he did cross state lines. And some people will say, well, he crossed state lines with a firearm and that's illegal. He didn't. The weapon didn't cross state lines. But he was there earlier that day. He was helping clean up graffiti. He was helping clean up graffiti earlier that day. He had a medical kit that, he wanted to, I guess, help folks like when the riots and stuff broke out, try to keep the peace. But he was there with a firearm to protect a minority-owned business. That's why Kyle Rittenhouse was there. He wasn't there to riot and loot and burn stuff up like other folks were protesting, quote unquote. So the facts are, it's just lies, like right off the bat. Was 17 carrying a gun federally outlawed until age of 18. And with Karemlo, they said age 17 carrying a knife. Now, I don't know the details on how long the knife was, but probably very not legal to have it at the school. I'll have to add a little asterisk there. I'm assuming, I don't know in any scenario it's probably illegal to have the knife there at the school, but and I would assume you can carry a lot of things in Texas, but if it's over a certain size, he's probably in trouble for that knife situation. He would, but Rittenhouse was allowed to have that firearm. Like people kept trying to say, oh, he crossed state lines again. The firearm never crossed state lines. And it was a long gun. He was able to carry a long gun. They don't know the law. And you don't have to really know the law. You could at least know the case. Like this, you can go watch it like online. People streamed it on YouTube. One of the biggest shows I had like streaming was talking about Kyle Rittenhouse case and stuff. I know there was a ton of misinformation out there. There was and the misinformation just permeated like everything. There were articles saying that Kyle Rittenhouse killed like black people, which wasn't true. There was one guy he like missed, and I'm like, that was your angel, bruh. Because if he had actually killed a black person, you know, hopefully justice would have still, you know, been on his side, but the outrage would have, like, if they were willing to make up him killing black people, imagine if he actually had killed a black person. But my parents thought he had killed a black person, like black people. And so my dad was overseas, and I was talking to him about the case. And so he had just kind of heard, well, I guess a little bit of mainstream. I mean, he was like busy doing stuff for the Lord, but he heard a little bit of the news or whatever. And so I sent him like some stuff that I wrote about it. And then he said, you know, my dad doesn't talk about being scared or scary stuff that often. And he said, it is really scary what the media does. Because just what he didn't know about the case, or what the media was trying to tell him about the case and what the actual facts were. And then I was telling my mom about it, and she's like, I didn't know he didn't kill, you know, black kids until I heard y'all talking about it. She watches the news too. They're, you know, they're not oh, my dad was like usually really, really, really into the news, but again, he was like on the mission field. And my mom, you know, I guess she watches it more than the average person. She's not like watching podcasts or whatever, but you know, she knows more than she knew more than the average bear. But so just stuff that's still wrong. Rittenhouse was attacked after warning attackers he would shoot. And then Karemlo was attacked after warning attacker he would defend himself. Again, he did provoke. I guess you could say he did warn him that he was going to do that while reaching in the bag, like, so he was prepared. That it's not proportional though. It definitely was proportional. The response here. And Kyle Rittenhouse was, I mean, one of the people that he shot, like, told him earlier that night that he was going to like get him. Like, people were trying to hurt him, trying to probably kill him. He was being chased. Gage, you know, admitted, the one of the guys who survived, who he shot in his arm and stuff, who I believe traveled quite far to actually get to that protest. He admitted on the stand that Rittenhouse did not shoot until he had aimed. And that is, there's just one really, really viral moment of these different lawyers watching the case, and they're like, oh my gosh. And they reacted like it was like a Super Bowl, like, touchdown moment. Cause it was like, this kid should get off, like, in the trial right now, bro. Like, this is totally self-defense. It was obviously self-defense. Thank God so many people had phones and there was so much data, especially that came out prior to the case actually even happening. But and even after all the stuff that we saw, it was very possible that he could have lost his case. Like, Rittenhouse at first had representation that was like very much in the meme world, I think, and wanted attention. And then he got another lawyer that was like, do you want like attention, or do you want to win? Because this is serious. Do you want to win this case? And so he took a more serious approach with the other lawyer. And, you know, because at first some of the stuff coming out, like, from their side in their defense, like online, was like not good. And then there was a shift, and it was because one of his lawyers were like, your life is on the line. Like, this isn't a joke. Like, we need to tighten this up. Like, a lot of people want to get on and have a spectacle online and talk about stuff and get on the news or whatever, and get clicks and stuff. But when your life is on the line, when you're having trials and stuff, you need to actually focus on what's going to happen in the courtroom and what the jury is going to say, you know, because the whole world isn't going to be what decides your fate. It's usually going to be like 12 people, right? So he was totally justified if you watch what happened. And also, Kyle Rittenhouse, so many people talked about his tremendous trigger discipline. Like, people were so impressed. Like, he quickly became like a spokesperson for gun rights afterwards. This is a situation too, like, with everything that happened. and him defending himself. But it was really impressive that he's not like he was like spraying everybody with his gun. He had a tremendous trigger discipline. So he was shooting to defend himself. He wasn't just like bloodthirsty trying to kill somebody. My sister said it was 3-on-1. It wasn't even 3-on-1. Like there was, there are other people coming at him. At the time, it was remarkable that he managed to get out of there alive and like uninjured. Like someone was coming at him with a skateboard. They were trying. Killed 2, injured 1. Yeah, there was a mob and people coming at him. He killed 1. Yes, he murdered 1. Well, he has to go through his case, but it looks like it was murder, bruh. Raised $586,940 from conservatives for legal defense, and conservatives want legal defense funds shut down or legally garnished. And that is true. There are people on the right who are saying that this Karemlo Anthony kid should not be able to have funds raised. Acquitted self-defense. It was obviously self-defense. And it's funny how they mention conservatives, but they don't mention how the left wanted this kid to not get off on self-defense. It's just like skewed to this is just so it's so skewed. It's obviously not meant to be balanced. And the other one the last thing says conservatives want heaviest legal sentence. He did murder him. He did murder him over the dumbest thing. And I don't know what all his motivations were, because it's just pretty wild. If it was like, I'm gonna sit here and you tell me to move, I'm gonna stab you. That's wild. Wild and senseless. Let me see if I can read Savvy's retweet of this. Savvy is great. If you follow her on YouTube, on TikTok, she does have a YouTube channel, but she mostly just talks about movies and stuff. X is where you'll see her get a little spicy and stuff. Yeah, the first thing that popped up was Sav's response. She said the entire Rittenhouse trial is on YouTube. There's no excuse. Heck, you can read the highlights on Wikipedia. He lived in an Illinois town 20 minutes away, but he worked in Kenosha. He had already been in Kenosha for 2 days. Federally outlawed where? It was the Smith & Wesson M&P15, Smith & Wesson version of an AR-15, and very legal. According to the judge who dismissed the charge, the legal age to carry a long gun in Wisconsin is 16. The entire thing was caught on video. The first guy chased him and tried to take his gun. The second guy tried to beat him with a skateboard. One guy tried to kick him in the head, but Kyle missed him. I think that's the black guy. The one who survived aimed a gun at him and admitted on the stand that he aimed first. It's a clear-cut case of self-defense. Liberals wanted to shut down Kyle's efforts to raise money. Karemlo Gibson Go page is still active. Of course, he was acquitted. It was the clearest case of self-defense. You cannot compare the two. Somebody grabbing you or touching you doesn't warrant a stab to the chest. Was his life in imminent danger? Did have a reasonable fear for his life in danger? Can he even argue self-defense when he was the one illegally carrying a knife and threatening to use it because he was asked to move? So, these people are crazy. And again, Nicole here, truth teller. That's the profile. We can't reply to it. So I retweeted him and I said, we need a community note here, because there's people in the comments. And I tried to I saw I couldn't reply. I'm like, well, maybe I can reply to some people in the comments. Oh my gosh, somebody called Savvy a coon. Coon alert. Ugh. She is correct. And people say white privilege in full effect. These people are so ignorant. You're ignorant, Free Mello. Well said. Thank you. It's a lie. Everything she said was like a lie. Exactly. Why black people, you should never be caught up in the left-right politics. Both sides are rotten. No, child. Them devils, hypocrisy and double standards has no shame even when you show them proof. They will it's all a lie. They will lie without batting an eye. Don't argue with these devils. They mad because we ain't going to allow them to railroad this child. Them bleeps, can stay mad. This case is a mere proxy to how dominant America has always felt about its founding black population. Why they simply can't and refuse to hold the mirror of accountability up to the heinous atrocities committed by their ancestors. Far too many wanting to continue the evils. Just so much ignorance. So much ignorance. Wow. I bet Daisy here didn't have the courage to actually, well, maybe she left a comment. Let's see if she left a comment under oh, she did. She said unfollowing. Only so much coonery I can take. Everything she said was correct. Why does the truth trigger you? I'm sure she doesn't care that you're I'm sure she doesn't care if you're unfollowing. Daisy here focuses to with this account is to call out the racism and gender ideology. So she probably just followed Savvy because Savvy does not care and will offend people when it comes to protecting what a woman is in biological spaces and stuff. This is so ignorant, man. I hate this so much. And then you start speaking facts and you tell the truth. Savvy is really smart. And just to say what actually happened, and people will turn around and call you some kind of racial slur, as if you're some kind of race traitor, as if you should have any allegiance other than to reality, other than to the truth. If the melanin in your skin forces you to alter facts, that's insane. That's insane. That is insane. I cannot live my life that way. I'm not going to alter the facts for family. Like, why would I do that for a kid who stabbed somebody in the chest? Why would I do that? Why should Savvy do that? Anyway, let's talk about the Give Send Go situation, because there is a debate about it. Now, people are angry with Give Send Go and they want the page shut down. And I can understand why. And they're saying, oh, it's against your policies, and you should shut it down. But the founder here, co-founder Jacob Wells, did say something about it. People are mad about our stance to allow Karemlo Anthony family a campaign on Give Send Go, and I get it. It's a horrible situation. There are even calls for a boycott. But because I know a similar scenario will happen again for someone on the right, and our competitors won't allow them a campaign, even though it is a legal endeavor, people will be back to using Give Send Go because we are the only fundraising platform that truly stands on freedom and principle. So, a lot of people are coming at the Black community to prove how broken and so people are saying all kinds of terrible things, how sick and other sorts of things because people are giving to this young man. I doubt it is only Black people doing that, because the wokest people on this planet who I deal with, I promise you, are not Black. I promise you are not Black. You can't tell me there's not some white guilt money being sent his way. But even so, if people want to give to the defense fund or whatever, that is their prerogative. I think there's so many things in this world that you can give to help and support or whatever. It's just it is amazing to me that there are situations like this, like with the different BLM stuff, and they'll pour in money, pour in more, and pour into all kinds of different money, and there's all these false narratives going around about what happened, and then people act like there's not money that people can give to each other in general for for charitable reasons, for healthcare, or to take care of a mother and her child. Like, we can do more as a society. We just choose to not do it. And then foolishness like this pops up, and then people want to pour in tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, even in millions in some case. And it's wild to me. It's wild to me. But people decided to make it about race. And so people have taken very tribal positions, and they want to support this kid. As far as whether people should be allowed to do it in Jacob Wells' position, I understand it, because he's arguing and he's going back and forth in his comments with different folks, saying that people were saying that Daniel Penny murdered someone. People were saying that Kyle Rittenhouse murdered somebody. And Give, Send, Go was still up for these people. So he's claiming self-defense. It's clearly not a case of self-defense, but the legal system has to work that out, and he will be, tried by a jury of his peers, and the result will probably be him going to jail for the rest of his life. But he has a legal right to make his case, and if people want to help him with that, they believe that they should be able to. But people had opinions about folks at the right were cheering on. And it's very clear to me that Rittenhouse was self-defense. Very clear to me that Daniel Penny didn't mean to kill that man. People are bringing up that case too. I'm like, people on the subway thanked him for stepping in. He clearly didn't mean to kill him. He put him in recovery position. He wasn't the only one who subdued the man. And the dude was crazy, talking about, threatening people, saying, I don't care if he can send me back to jail. If I was on the subway, I would have appreciated Daniel Penny stepping in to try to make other people feel safe. And I would have been livid, I think, if I was there, and then to see him get arrested and treated so poorly. But I'm glad he won his case, because New York, you don't always know if people are going to get justice, So they still allowed, these people to give. And so when people say that they're going to boycott, he's like, no, you're going to need me, because I'm the only principal person here, and these other sites will shut your stuff down in those kinds of situations. So I think it's fine that that Jacob is sticking to his guns and principles here, and trying to service just people in general when they have these causes. Now, like I said, there's some people saying that it's just that it violates their term of service, and someone posted it, and the first one is benefit groups that support physical violence of any kind, to which he replied, show me where the campaign owner fundraiser is cheering for violence. So there's a difference between someone defending themselves after they committed an act of violence, and or someone raising money for that person for their defense fund, versus if someone was like, hey, we're going to use gifts and go because we're going to go do a violent protest. We're going to go loot and mob and stuff when we need like money for energy drinks and travel. It's not like that. So people are trying to misapply their terms of service. I question these people who are giving the money, but I don't know what they believe. I don't know what they've been told. Like there was a fake police report. I mean, a fake post that was allegedly from the police department that was going around, that was super viral on social media. Now, I can tell you, if you have any sense and know anything about the world, if you read it, you ought to have known that it was fake just from the language in it. And I saw different people debunking it on like TikTok and other stuff, and like this, and then the police department came out and said like there's a fake post going around. But so I don't know what people believe. I don't know what people believe about this case and what happened, and if they really think that Austin was bullying this kid and was like really, they might have it in their minds that there's a legitimate self-defense claim here. And I see people who know better even kind of wiggle and twist. So I don't know what all people's motivations are doing it. And again, it could just be as simple as people have decided to make this tribal, to make this about race. And so people have retreated into different positions. And it's people on both sides doing it. Like when people were talking about the father for saying like, I forgive him. And the father saying, let's not make it about race. There are people on the right who were furious about it. People who claim to be Christian who were mad about it. And debating like, oh, you're not really supposed to forgive like that. And all kinds of like think pieces and so on. Angry. Like it's a conspiracy that he's saying don't make it about race. There's people who try to say that, tell white people not to make things about race to maybe he just doesn't want his son to be used in such a way to incite racial violence, racial tension in America, when he himself believes that we're all made in the image of God and we're all created equal or whatever. And he doesn't want to see the death of his son result in something so negative. Maybe it's just as simple as that. There's not some kind of grand conspiracy about the left telling white people they can't criticize black people. Maybe it's not that. Maybe he's just trying to be as Christian as possible in this terrible situation. Maybe it's just simply that. And then there's people who are like, oh, you can't just tell black people what to do anymore and be thinking you can tell us to move and y'all better learn, y'all gonna learn, or who's encouraging more violence, encouraging more ignorance, who are encouraging their sons to go and make boneheaded decisions like this that are going to make them spend the rest of their lives in prison. I don't understand it. I was raised better than however the heck these people were raised. So maybe I'll never be able to completely understand how their mind got so warped. Thank God. But it's a mess. But I'll say this again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't think this story would probably be huge national news with all these kinds of different conversations if it was 2 black kids at the track meet. I mean, we might be still talking about it. People's reaction to these sorts of things also tend to make news too. Like that girl who clearly hit the other girl on the head and was trying to say that, she didn't do it on purpose, when it was like clearly done on purpose. And did y'all consider my feelings? So that lack of accountability made that a huge story. I wouldn't say it's to this kind of degree. because obviously this is more serious. But if it was 2 kids, black kids, I don't think this would be this huge story that it is. If it was 2 white kids, I don't think it'd be the huge story. I think it's because it's black and white, people decide to make it tribal and really push it in the news and stuff. I mean, that's my opinion. And so in one of my videos about this on TikTok, someone mentioned someone who had been killed that was in the news not too long ago, and they're like, there's 2 black kids, it's similar situation, not totally similar situation, whatever, but just, people didn't care about that black on black crime. I'm trying to see if I can find that post, the fake post, so I can. It had stuff like Austin sucker punched him, like things like that, things that weren't reported anywhere else. And the police wouldn't put a post on social media that said that someone sucker punched them. It was just language that was clearly not written by a police station. And so it just kind of amazed me how many people could post that and be like, oh, this is the truth, when you didn't question at all if this was real or not before you started posting it everywhere. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find it right now. But yeah, I don't know what all these people know, what all these people believe, but if they want to give, and that's their prerogative. I wish they would rally around better causes, but everybody's entitled to representation. That's how our justice system works, and they want to make sure he gets it. But everybody ain't gonna lie about what went on, what's happening, and one of these days people are gonna have to accept accountability and just be okay with accountability. And people try to say, like, black people never want to be accountable. People never want to be accountable, man. That's not just like a black issue. Like, that spans across different races. I could definitely think of black and white women and so on, etc., who don't like accountability. So it is not it's not a racial thing. It's not a racial thing, but some of these comments are so wild that I'm seeing online from folks. Let me see if I can find some interesting ones for you guys real quick. I posted a video. Where is it at now? How many views does it have? It has 22,000, and it would have a lot more if my account wasn't being suppressed. People are saying, free Karemlo. You cannot make anyone move from a seat. People are saying that he deserved it. He should have called the cops. Oh, someone people trying to compare it to Kavanaugh, not to Kavanaugh, I'm sorry, to Rittenhouse. Yeah, a lot of people are just saying stuff like they gotta learn not to move. You can't just tell people what to do. He should have put his hands on him. Free Karemlo. Huh. Yeah, there's a lot of comments I haven't sorted through. It's just sad. Someone said, if it bleeds, it leads. It's like evil engagement farming. Yeah, that's true. I don't know who carried the story first, but like I know like the parents and the family were like interviewed on like Fox News and stuff like that. You know, I mean, but it's been talked about everywhere. I do think it is engagement farming. Like, ooh, spicy story. People do show tragedies like this on the news, but these things happen. It's a huge country. Not every engagement like this that ends with a teen dying or teen murdered ends up, to be like weeks long conversations and people raising hundreds of thousands of dollars and all kinds of different stuff. That doesn't happen all the time. So someone said, had Karemlo been the one who got stabbed, it would be these same type of reactions. If he had man, if Karemlo, if it was swapped, people who are defending Karemlo would be defending Austin. People are so tribal. And there'd be as far as people on the right, would they just automatically flip and start, defending if the white kid was the one who stabbed him? I don't think so. I think maybe some people would question, but I think once the narratives and the police reports start coming out, but but they might question it. They'd be like, we can't trust the media, we can't trust it, but so it would be a mess. Our world should be getting less racist, not more racist. That more racially divisive, but unfortunately just kind of where we are. We gotta pray, y'all. We gotta pray. Anyway, that's all for today. That's all I got for you guys today. I was gonna talk about Donald Trump saying nice things about Gretchen Whitmer, but I know she has said some comments about it and I haven't read through it all, so maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow. But it was like, I'm like, what? He said she was doing a great job. It was a good person. I'm like, you have been taken by body snatchers. I'm like, I know Trump will just like, he'll compliment anyone if he feels like there's something positive going around or something him or someone flatters him or whatever. He'll just be saying stuff. I don't know what possessed him to say nice things about Gretchen Whitmer the other day, but she's awful and she's terrible and she obviously is seeking higher office. Some people might say it's 5D chess and he's just trying to make her less appealing to the liberals who might support her in the primary. I don't think it's that deep, probably. But we'll have to analyze that at another time. Someone says she spoke in support of the tariff. I mean, yeah, she spoke in support of the tariffs, and that should not be that could be just enough of him saying nice things about her. But he should have never said nice things about her. She doesn't deserve the nice things. She was crazy and tyrannical, and I know she wants people to forget about that. It's so unfortunate that she won, the midterm in like double digit numbers. But I know she has higher political aspirations. It's very likely that she could be your president one day. And I'm so sorry if that happens. I'm so sorry that we have released the Kraken into the world, if that is the case. But man, oh man, she is awful. Anyway, please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, website, articles, reviews, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost to stream. Run the site, all the good stuff, so you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching live. Thank you to those in the comments. Thank you to those who watch the show back later. You guys can check out different merch available on the site. You guys can also check out different books I have available on Amazon. There's a link in the description. I'll take you to an Amazon page with some of my stuff. And you can look at books like This is the Song on the Devil's Lips, which is a sequel to The Color of God's Eyes. It's a really good, cool historical fiction fantasy. But I got all kinds of goodies. Like, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. That's one of my nonfiction books. God bless you guys. And I will catch you tomorrow.